I'm Cameron Dye, daughter of Lieutenant Bill Dye.
I'm Debbie Dye. I am the surviving spouse of Lieutenant William Dye, U.S. Navy. Bill and I first met summer before our senior year. I was in school in Towson and he was at the Naval Academy. We had mutual friends that were dating and they invited us to go four-wheeling one day. So I was like, sure, why not? He pulled up, there were like 3 Jeeps, and it was just like a kind of a really natural, like, hey, I'll ride with that guy. He's super engaging, really friendly, really outgoing, kind of an all-American guy, like always up to do anything. We kind of just hit it off really easily. After spending about a good year of hanging out with mutual friends, Bill was getting ready to transition to flight school in Pensacola, and it was literally probably the night before he left for flight school that all of a sudden he sort of professed his love to me of like, hey, we should start dating, and the next day he left for flight school. So we dated long distance for about a year. We wrote letters and had ridiculously long phone conversations, and about a year later he asked me to marry him. Bill and I got married in the summer of 1995 at the Naval Academy, which was incredible. It was a beautiful summer day. We were with all of our family and friends, and off I went to Meridian, Mississippi, and we spent a year there before we landed in Virginia Beach, where he became an instructor. Cam was born on March 18th, 1999, and Bill deployed 2 weeks later for a 6-month deployment. It was challenging. He would often send letters. Sometimes he would just read stories to her just so that she could hear his voice. He adored her. He always said, oh, I hope we have a little girl and she has this independent, outgoing spirit. And that is exactly what we got.
I definitely have his crooked smile. My family has been saying it since I was a little girl of, that's little Bill Dye, like right there. I'll do something and it's like, oh, like that's so like your dad.
She has this strong personality, this very confident personality, but also humble and quiet and sweet and really engaging. There's a natural knack that they both have to just draw people in.
Even the ways that I'll talk or different inflections or looks that I'll make, and they're like, that is so him. And those are my favorite compliments for sure.
Bill returned home after the 6-month deployment in October, and we settled into life there. We had just some really big, beautiful moments that happened. It was wonderful. And then he had an opportunity to be a demonstration pilot for the F-14. To hear Bill talk about flying was always really powerful because this was a jet. He was a fighter pilot, and part of it was really the design of flying and how much he loved it. But I think he also realized the magnitude of what he did and the commitment to our country. And just so excited to see him fly. Yeah, why can't you just see him being so excited? In June, he was slated to fly in an air show in Willow Grove, Pennsylvania, which is super close to all of his family who are in New Jersey and that surrounding area. It was Father's Day weekend, it was our anniversary, so there was a lot going on. His nieces and nephews got to watch him fly, and he was signing autographs, and the kids were playing in sprinklers. It was the first anniversary that we got to spend physically together. What a beautiful, perfect day. Sunday was the last day of the air show, and because we had such a long ride home, Cam and I and my mother-in-law got in the car, and Bill head back off to the air show. And sort of the plan was like, okay, we'll race you home. And later that day, as we were driving home, we got a call from our neighbor, and it was curious that she called to just sort of say, hey, where are you guys? How's your ride going? And, I said, oh, we're a few hours out, and kind of, is everything okay? And, I just sort of remember like feeling like a turning in my stomach, just something, my heart dropped. There was just something like, something's not right. So we get home and probably not a few minutes later, there's a knock at the door, and forever, you just know this is it. This is that moment that you hear about or you've seen in a movie. And
as I've gotten older, the magnitude of everything that happened in the accident and how she kind of carried on is something that like leaves me speechless. Just thinking of like, oh my God, like that was her person and like that's who she lost, and she was alone with me, knowing how young she was and scared, I'm sure, and how amazing she's done. It definitely is like hard to kind of think now as I'm that age.
If you had to design the last few days of your life, they were really beautifully designed because we got to be together and with family. We saw my family, we saw his family. We had seen so many of his friends that in so many ways it was such a gift of time that I know others don't have.
That was your anniversary?
To go from that level of like, God, this is my life, to, wow, this is our new life.
Crash.
The air show was just a typical day and they were flying and everything was going well. Something shifted with the plane, and when the pilots are flying, they are schooled on a drop area. So they were told there was an elementary school, the ground, that heaven forbid, if something goes wrong, this is where you ditch the plane. But when they went over that way, it was crowded with people. They went just past that and they were too low. So by the time they ejected, it was just too late. So we believe they're heroes. So the day after the accident, life is very surreal, and what I realized very quickly is that Cam woke up none the wiser, full of light and love and energy and ready to start her day, and I thought, okay, this is how you do this. One day at a time, you get to see this beautiful baby girl, and
just was like us two against the world. So I don't think I really even realized until I got older, like, oh, this isn't how everyone's family is.
We're so close, and it was just sort of became the norm. And I think as she asked questions, I answered them.
In high school, I feel like there wasn't really anyone that I could connect to and share the same stories. Obviously, like, my mom was the only one showing up to my field hockey games. Like, at some point, it's like, where's your dad? Like, in a respectful way, but it has to come up. I think also just losing him so young and not knowing him is a very different grief. There wasn't anyone there.
When Cam started talking about colleges, she was a great student, she was an athlete, she was involved in the community, so college was the next step. That was, what she wanted, and of course I was always going to support what she wanted.
It wasn't until I'm starting to scroll and apply, and you're looking at tuitions and it's saying $70,000 a year, and you're like, there's no way, like, that can't be real.
In Cam's junior years, we were looking at colleges. She kind of went to visit and fell in love with Penn State, and of course I was really excited and then got super nervous.
I knew my mom was stressed, I knew I was stressed, and it was just in the back of my mind.
So we weren't even sure what was available or if she would be eligible. Children of Fallen Patriots was an organization that we were encouraged to reach out to, and I think almost instantaneously they were so organically kind.
The first few conversations with Cynthia was really just like I want to get to know you. The ability to talk about my dad and my mom and her strength and just connect with these people that understood.
It was hopeful. It made me realize, okay, you're not alone in this.
And it wasn't even just like, oh, here's a check. It was like, what do you want to do at Penn State and how can we get you there? For the one time that it was beneficial, like, it's not just us against the world. There's people here with us. After I was applying, I got home and the letter's waiting there. And it was so powerful to kind of be like, this is happening. Like, I'm really going, and this is so, so amazing. And Cynthia was in my top 10 calls of, you did this and you helped me, and I'm going. What's so unique about Children of Fallen Patriots is that it was so much more than just a financial help, which obviously had guided me into, okay, now I'm at Penn State, what can I do here? And so there was networking, and there was meet this person, and oh, this member on the board can help you with this. Without Children of Fallen Patriots, I would have been very lost. I don't know where I would have gone to school, how things would have looked after school. It was this unexpected relationship flourishing in all different aspects of my life, socially, at school, where I wanted to go in my career.
They're there for her. They're there for me. Their staff are other surviving family members.
It didn't need to be this, like, where's your dad story? It just became this family.
She calls them, she texts them. They have embraced her as she's grown from a high schooler to now, a beautiful 23-year-old living in New York City.
I started my job in July and I got my first paycheck, and it was a big deal because it was my first salary paycheck. And the first thing I did is I went online and I donated to Children of Fallen Patriots because I would not have had that job. I wouldn't be where I am without them. So I felt like that was just a this is how this is gonna go for the rest of my life. We're intertwined in their family.